Right, okay, I'm going to be talking about the mind-body problem, and it's going to be a really brief introduction. It really is going to be brief. What I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to the mind-body problem, and I'm going to set out for you why the relationship between the mind and the body is considered problematic, and also why it continues to be problematic. This problem isn't going to go away. So, going right back to the beginning, there was René Descartes, and there he is. He wrote a wonderful book called The Meditation on First Philosophy. I'm sure you've all heard of that. If you haven't read it, do try it. It's very easy to read. The ideas in it are very difficult, but it is easy to read, so try it. On the basis of conceptual analysis, and we'll talk about that in a second, Descartes drew a very sharp distinction between the mind and the body. And just before we go on to the distinction that he drew, let's have a look at what conceptual analysis is. Tell me what's characteristic of a triangle? It has three sides. Okay, must it have three sides? Are there any triangles that don't have three sides? No, there aren't, are there? What you were doing there, notice there isn't a triangle that I can see in this room. What you were doing was reflecting on your concept of a triangle, analysing it to see what was necessary for something to be a triangle, and what you could see is quite clearly, if it hasn't got three sides, it isn't a triangle. Is that right? Okay, you were using the tool of conceptual analysis, and that's what Descartes used with respect to the mind and the body. And what he did, when he thought of the mind and thought, okay, what is it that's characteristic of mind? What is it without which the mind wouldn't exist? And then he looked at the body and he thought, what is it without which the body wouldn't exist? And he came up with two things. He identified the essential property of the mind as thinking. So if you didn't think, would you exist? Your body might, but would you exist if you didn't think?
How about feeling?
Okay, we could add feeling to that, and in fact I'm happy to do so at the moment. If you didn't think and feel, could you exist? If you had no thoughts, no feelings, no sensations, no consciousness at all, would you exist? No. Well, that's the conclusion that Descartes came to. He thought without consciousness, it wouldn't be me. Even if my body was around, but there was no consciousness, it wouldn't be me. Because what's important to me, what's essential to me, is that I think. That's where he got his famous, I'm thinking, therefore I am, cogito ergo sum. He then looked at the essential property of a body. So if we take a physical object, I wish I had a solid one here, but I don't, but this pen will do. What is it that's essential to a physical object like this? Is it its shape? You could have a physical object with a different shape, couldn't you? What is it? And what he thought was its space fillingness, its extension, which means solidity or space fillingness. So there couldn't be a physical object, thinks Descartes, that isn't extended in space. We're going to do a Cartesian thought experiment for ourselves. So let's do that. I'm going to use the flip chart.